for coming on, Coach.
I appreciate you having me.
So Coach Holdren, he is the head football coach at Marathona High School, which is right near Pasadena, or it's in Pasadena, California, near the Rose Bowl. So to kick things off, Coach, can you just share with the audience a little bit about your background and how you got into coaching football?
Yeah, let's see, I started, playing youth football when I was 8, doing the tackle thing. I ended up in high school. I was pretty good in high school and graduated from Bishop Diego in Santa Barbara. Went on to SMU in Dallas, Texas, where they, on my recruiting trip, they said I wasn't big enough or I wasn't tall enough, so they weren't going to offer me a scholarship. But if I walked on and was good enough in the spring, that they would give me a full ride. So I basically cobbled together enough money to attend for the year. And I was able, through scout team quarterbacking, I got offered a scholarship. I think it was week 3 or 4. And we were playing Air Force and Navy. And so I had to run the option, which was fun to go run around. And then I was at SMU, and then a guy named Josh McCowan came in the spring. I went in and told the offensive coordinator that I could catch. And so I moved over to receiver and did all special teams for another year. And then basically I think I'd fried out of the game, and my body was screaming at me. So I ended up leaving there and got in entertainment I was in entertainment for a long time. And I started coaching. I was doing a project, and one of the producers was coaching at a high school, Harvard Westlake High School, and he asked if I would come out and kind of volunteer some time to coach quarterbacks. And then when I got out there, I found that I was able to kind of turn off my phone for those couple hours of basically turn off my phone from life, and really enjoyed kind of being around in the game again. And that kind of got me into coaching quarterbacks. And there was a kid there who had a lot of potential. Chad Knopf is his name. So I started kind of working with Chad on a kind of separate level of QB, kind of one-on-one. And then that evolved into, that was probably 15 years ago. And then I kind of just kept going back. And, I was, eventually I moved offensive coordinator there. And then I went to another high school, Alemany. I was there helping them for a season. And then at that point, I wanted to run my own program. I was I'd worked for 3 head coaches and saw things that I necessarily wanted to do differently, or wanted to do kind of my own way. And so I became a head coach at John Burroughs High School in Burbank. My first year there, we were 2-8. My second year, we started 5-0, and then ended the season 6-4. And then I stepped down from there because it was a public school that doesn't necessarily pay. We treated it, me and my wife and family treated it like grad school in a way there was no way I was going to be able to survive on the stipend, but I was, going to learn everything that I could. And then I moved over to Maranatha, which is where I'm at now. My first year here, we were 1-9. And then my second year, after a full off season, we were 11-1 and
Wow.
won league and made a run to the semifinals.
Wow.
So that's kind of my coaching journey, the map of it. Why I do you said what you asked why. I coach because I try to be the guy that I didn't have. When I played, I got, I was in Santa Barbara, and then when I went to Dallas and was at SMU, I didn't really have anybody to kind of talk to or support in a way when it was getting hard. Um, and so I kind of started coaching quarterbacks and have a little kind of side deal with that still to this day. But for those guys, trying to be the guy that I didn't have in a way and kind of give them the roadmap, because I had no idea what I was getting into. And I'm Santa Barbara, this was in late 90s. So 1997, I graduated high school. And when I got to Dallas, it was a complete shell shock. And so now as I coach quarterbacks and they move up, I still have relationships with them and help them through college. And so that's also kind of the approach I take for my team as well.
Sure. So going back to what you were talking about with your experience going from, was it 1-9 to 11-1?
Yes, sir.
Can you share a little bit more about that and how you made that shift and I guess the culture that you started to, adopt within your program?
Yeah, there were a lot of days during the 1-9 year that I literally was like, what am I doing? And my credit to my wife, she just kept reminding me, this is what you wanted. You wanted a place to rebuild. And so we were at, as somebody told me when I got hired, they basically said you're at ground zero. So it was bad. My first parent meeting, I had 12 kids at the parent meeting. There was a coach before I'd left. I think he left at the end of the year, and there was about 2 months of nothing. And then I got the job in July. The parent meeting had 12 kids at it. My only thing that I didn't want was to play. They said that you might have to play JV only. And I didn't want to do that. I felt that if we played JV only, it would be such a rough kind of thing to get back into varsity games. And so I just said, we're gonna play varsity games, and if we get our butt kicked, we get our butt kicked. And that's what happened. I running clocks. We only played 8. We forfeited 2. 5 of them were running clocks. Opposing teams were putting 70 on us. And so, it was brutal. And then at the end of the year, I'll never forget the AD was like, hey, why don't you just have a pizza party and just call it a day and be done? And I was adamant that I wanted to have a banquet. We're going to have a banquet, and then we're going to start off-season weights. And for the banquet, everyone's going to, wear a tie. And that's what we did. And so I had about half the team show up. I got it up to about 24, I think, for the season. And when I got the job, I called everybody on the roster, and I found there was about 10 kids walking around campus. And then it was just brutal. It was brutal. But we made it through. We had a banquet, and then January 6th, when we came back to school, we started off-season weights, and that was huge. So there hadn't been an off-season weight program here in a long time. There wasn't we did spring football. We did spring ball, which was 4 weeks. I don't think they'd done that here before. And then we kind of just pieced it together, and a couple kids transferred in, got a quarterback who was pretty good. He's now playing at Valparaiso, and just kind of started building and getting the kids to kind of buy in and believe that they were worthy of winning. And we started out, first game, it was on from the first game, and we got down, we tied. I knew we were on to something when we tied week 4. The team didn't want to play overtime, but they notified us with 4 minutes left in the game as we had kind of stormed back to tie it. And then the ref told us that they didn't want to play tight end, or they didn't want to play overtime. I was thinking of the tight end going down with a cramp. And so at the end of that game, their kids were super joyous, like they had won the Super Bowl, and my kids were all down and defeated. And I knew that we were on to something good there, and we made a pretty good run and got to the semifinals. And that's my first time there as a coach and as a player. And so it was, there's a whole different set of things that you gotta deal with getting deep in the playoffs, right? Keeping guys healthy. You got, with a small program, you got guys playing different positions. And so, but we had gotten it from parent meeting was 12. That first year was in the 20s. And then that second year we were up to 41, 42 kids. And now we're at 52 for this season.
Okay.
So it's growing.
Yeah. Well, that's very impressive. So going back to this season, so you obviously had a big win this past Friday against Western Christian. So how's this season been so far? I know it's still pretty early, but can you just share a little bit about, the current year?
Yeah, we're 4-1. Our goal for preseason was 4-1. And we reached that. We started out, I think we were finding ourselves, and I'm trying to find that as a coach too, of we had such a great year last year I literally just tried to continue on that. And I had to learn that each team is its own unique thing. Right. And so I was kind of coming at it like, hey, last year when we lost this game, like we got to keep building there. And then, I had to kind of look inside and realize that these guys are different kids. There's a whole new freshman class where we have like 22 freshmen. We call them the future. So that's a big energy now all of a sudden in the room. And then some of the older guys are older. Right. And so, it was challenging at first. And then as this team's kind of finding itself, we made a whole new kind of goal set of being happy for each other, celebrating together, and most importantly, having fun. I think everybody was trying so hard, including myself, to win games, to do it the right way, whatever that means. And we just kind of lost the thread of having a good time together and enjoying, what high school football is all about. Because you get a room full of high school kids who really want to do something. It's a big energy. So
it really is. And so, yeah, I think, what a lot of coaches sometimes get caught up in is just the monotony of, week by week, practice by practice. And it seems like from what you've just explained, like just bringing energy and making sure that the players know like the reason why behind they're doing everything is so crucial. So is there anything else that we not maybe left out in our conversation so far that was like a big catapult to helping you get from 1-9 to 11-1?
Man, and it sounds so cliche because Dion's saying it right now a bunch at Colorado, but it's really he's saying the right things in my mind in terms of getting the kids to believe and getting them to believe that it's okay to win, it's okay to do well, and believing that you can be good at something. So we spent, there's a lot of time in the weight room. Getting the kids to take ownership of what's going on. And as I said to them this summer, like, we are going to be as good as you guys want to be. That's it. I can go look at film all day. I can, the coaching staff can come up with every game plan and X and O, every X and O on the board. If the kids don't want to do it, then then that's where we're going to be. And so motivating them to kind of take ownership of all of it, of the conditioning, of are they throwing routes on their own? Is the locker room clean? We've had a lot of character building going on here. That is kind of all helped and formed kind of the turnaround that we've had.
Yeah. And speaking from personal experience, I've been on both winning and losing programs. When I was at Malvern Prep in Philadelphia in high school, we had some pretty good teams. And then when I was in college, I played at Gettysburg, and we had some losing teams, some losing years. So from my experience, I think like the attention to detail, just like what you were saying, even though it does sound like it doesn't really matter, it really does. Like the little details, like keeping the locker room clean, like keeping the buses clean. So those are crucial, because from my experience, everything stacks. And if you do one thing wrong, like a fundamental wrong, then everything else goes wrong. And yeah, from what you were saying, it really sounds like you've taken that to heart and really gotten these kids to believe in that.
Yeah, the team we have now, I mean, we're 4-1. I went in the locker room last week, and looking around, just going, what are we doing? And I went in the weight room and addressed them all, and the freshman section looks like a bomb hit it, and the senior guys, they got stuff everywhere, and I basically just told the team that unacceptable, but this is on the seniors for setting the tone, because the freshmen are just watching what they're doing. So
for allowing it to happen.
And allowing it to happen. And so, since we had, we did a little character building at practice. So after that, then, it's been clean and stayed clean. And now they're taking ownership of it. And the more that they can take ownership of, the better off, first of all, the easier the job is, and the better off we're going to be.
Yeah, definitely. So you've obviously had like a little bit of a different career path going from entertainment to coaching.
Yeah.
And I just looked a little bit into you before this meeting, and so
oh boy.
So you were in commercials, and so can you just share a little bit like how that's helped you in your career, and maybe like, because I guess in the education space, so going from such like a different sector.
Yeah, so much there, because it was such a huge part of my life. I felt that I wasn't doing anything. I don't know. I come from a big service family, and including my wife, and there was something missing. I think the entertainment business is very it's a solo sport. I've never played solo sports. I played football, I played volleyball, I played basketball. I never really did any individual sports. And it was kind of that way. And so I was kind of confused and lost within it. I was able to have a little bit of success in it. But again, if I'm having more fun and enjoying myself more at a practice, helping high school kids, that's when I kind of went, well, maybe I should be doing this. And so being on a football field it's where I'm the happiest. When I stepped down from Burroughs February of 2020, and that was a month before the shutdown. And so then we did the shutdown. A couple schools asked me to come be an assistant, and I went to a practice or two, and I saw what was going on in terms of a mask and the spraying of the ball each time, and it was the height of it. And I just thought, like, I'm gonna ride this out. I'm gonna wait. And then that's when my wife said that, we got to maybe 2021, and she was one that pointed out. She said, "I've never seen you happier than when you're coaching football." And so that's kind of how I got into it. And again, I have a clear why I do this, and again, to be the guy that I never had as a player. And I think, in entertainment, you got to have a strong why to grind. And it's hard to do with a family as well. But at the end of the day, I think I get fulfillment. I think I get joy out of this. I feel like I'm giving back. I feel like I'm helping kids. And I coached, I've had all sorts of kids. I've had kids that have played at a super high level. I've had kids that, are just joining football for the first time. And so being able to kind of help them grow is pretty fulfilling for me.
Sure. So any last words of advice you wanted to share with the audience that maybe you, when you just got into coaching, would like to hear, or somebody like you?
Yeah, I think I would absorb everything you can. Absorb everything you can, And oddly enough, I worked for 3 different head coaches. And then along there were some good assistants that I worked with, but I was just kind of taking mental notes as I went, things that I would like to do, or things I would like to implement if I were to run a program someday, things that I wouldn't implement if I were to run a program someday. And as long as you're out here for the right reason, and I think that everyone has their own unique reason why they do it, but I would, if you're out here to help and try to get kids to the next level, or whatever it is, next level in life is kind of what I'm trying to achieve. Not necessarily offers or things of that nature, but all that stuff takes care of itself. So I would just, ears open is what I would recommend for young guys, ears and eyes.
Okay. Well, Coach, truly was a pleasure talking with you today. Best of luck the rest of the season, and thank you again.
Thank you, Justin. I appreciate you having me on, man.
Yes, sir.